Welcome to everyone who is joining in this morning. My name is Allie. I'm a doctor of physical therapy as well as a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I founded and practice at the Pilates RX here in Boston, but I also teach with the Community Online Academy all day, every day on Thursdays. What we have today is our stretch and strength for spine health using the foam roller. So we have a 30-minute program. We'll be doing some mobility work, a little bit of strengthening work, all to benefit our spine. But just coming into this class, I want everyone to know that your back is different than my back and your friends and your neighbors. And so please listen to your body. We're all dealing with something a little bit different. And even from day to day, you may see changes. Take the modifications or customizations that I offer in this program to make your body feel the best that it can so that you leave this program feeling better than you came into it. Let's just make sure I'm going to put my video on the spotlight so that you guys have that on the big screen. And we are going to get started with the roller all the way down on your back. So we'll lay the roller lengthwise. If you have a shorter one, I'll show you what you can do to modify. So we'll take the roller lengthwise on the mat. If you have that longer roller, go ahead and sit down on the back and you're going to lie down. If you have a shorter roller, make sure that at least your head and your chest are on the roller. From there, you can just hold your hips up into a bridge, or you can try and add some pillows or perhaps yoga blocks underneath your hips for a little bit of support. So we're going to take a moment to just let our body get settled and rested down into this posture. Holding our spine along the roller can give us a lot of information about sort of our baseline and how our body is starting off today. And know that there really is no right or wrong way for our body to start. We're just here to notice. So as you get settled in on the roller, notice if maybe you feel more body weight on one side compared to the other. Notice if you feel a lot of space or perhaps no space under your back. If maybe you feel tension in your neck. What we'll do to begin is focus in on our breathing. So try separating your feet a little wider than hips distance, opening your arms out to the side to allow just a gentle opening of the front of our body. So you can turn palms down or palms up to the ceiling, whatever is comfortable. And if you're getting numbness and tingling in your fingertips, just gently bend your elbows. We're going to use gravity here to help us find a gentle stretch. And because this is a passive stretch, we're depending on gravity, it should start off feeling gentle and perhaps increase as you lie here. So if it feels stressful or straining, just back off a little bit and let your body settle into this posture more naturally. So as you lie here and get connected to how your body is feeling on the roller today, start to tune your attention to your breath. And as you take your breath in and out, I want you to notice if you can feel a change in how much of your spine is touching the roller. And it's not to say that all of your spine should touch the roller. Our spine is really an S curve. So it has a curve outward for our upper back and a curve inward for our lower back. So just notice that, see if that feels natural for your body. But as you take your breaths in, see if you can start to feel a little more pressure behind your rib cage. And that means that you're getting your breath down through your ribs. And that's really what our body is designed to do. But sometimes as our spine stiffens up, our rib cage also stiffens and it restricts our breath pattern. So we'll take that big inhale breath in. See if you can feel the back of your ribs pressing into the roller behind you. And exhale, letting it go. Try that again. Take another big deep breath in. And exhale, release. Just once more like that. Another big breath in. And exhale, release, and let it go. Good. Now we're going to try a little bit of balance work here. So walk your feet back to that more narrow stance about hips distance apart and see if you can reach your fingertips up to the ceiling. Now this already may be a bit of a balance challenge here. And one thing that can help you is to pull the shoulder blades back, so it's as though your shoulder blades are hugging the roller. And that may actually help you to feel a little bit more steady. Think about pushing downward into your feet and adding a little tuck to your chin to lengthen the back of your neck. Now from here, both arms together without falling off the roller, open them to the side and back to the center. Now you can open as far as you feel comfortable. If you feel a big stretch with your arms just gently reached open, that's fine. If you can take your hands to the floor and bring it back up, that's also great. So work within your body's comfortable range. Notice if one side is dominating your movement, like you are tipping towards that side. Try and move slowly together with symmetry to open and sweep the arms back up and in. You can also work with a soft bend in your elbows if that's more comfortable for your body. We'll try 3 more. Good, and this is also a really nice chest opener here for 2. And 1 more time here. Good. And then you can find your fingertips down to the floor, kind of narrow right next to your hips. From here, if you have that shorter roller, bear with us. You can hang out in this posture, but we're going to do a little bit of lower body work, and this will be a brief set. So from here, think about closing that space behind the back of your ribs, and we're going to start to lift and march 1 foot up off the floor at a time. Go slow, go steady. Think about your trunk being so steady that you could balance a glass of water right on your navel and not spill a single drop. So slower is better here. I don't care how many you do. I care about the quality of how your movement is. Now, if you're moving through this pattern with both hands down and it feels pretty strong, pretty comfortable, try lifting both legs up at the same time and trying the opposite, lowering one leg down towards the floor and then lifting it back up. So this is looking at our core strength, of course, but also what we would call pelvic stability. So how is your back moving when your 2 legs are doing different things, which actually happens for most of our day, right? So we think about walking, we think about going up and down stairs, our 2 legs are doing different things. 3 more, and 2 more. 1 more time there, and then place both feet down. Good. We're going to take 1 stretch long overhead. You can allow your low back and rib cage to lift off. And then we're gently going to roll to the side, coming off the roller. There's really no beautiful, graceful way to do that. So we're just going to find ourselves in sitting and turn the roller to the perpendicular direction. So we'll go into a little bit of upper back work before we do mobility for our whole lower half. So we've got lots of mobility work ahead today, but we'll start with our upper back. So finding the roller just below your shoulder blades. And what I would recommend is that you hold the roller with both hands, you lie down, making sure that you're pushing your ribs into the roller, and then hold your head with your hands here. Walk your feet in a little bit closer and just find that position where you feel like you can actively press your ribs into the roller. And that's what keeps it from rolling away from you. Bring your elbows narrow in your peripheral vision and make sure that you're holding your head, not your neck here. And that way your neck can actually relax a little bit with the support from your hands. We're going to pick the bottom up and start to roll along our upper back. And as you do this initial rolling, I'm rolling just below my shoulder blades up to the base of my neck. So just my upper back. I know it's tempting to want to go into the low back. We're going to focus here on the upper back for a couple reasons. But as you're rolling here, make sure that you're pushing downward with your rib cage to keep the roller from popping out from underneath you. And you just want to assess how this feels. You may hear some clicking, crunching, popping. That's okay. We're doing mobility work for the joints, so you may actually hear that crack in the joint, and that's okay. That's actually a good sign telling us that we are getting some movement. You may also feel some tension along the muscles that lay next to your spine. And this is also a nice way to assess where those tight spots are. So if you feel like you've found one of those tight zones, I want you to pause on that spot, place your bottom down, and gently allow your spine to drape over the shape of the roller. So think about drawing your ribs down and your chest backwards so that your whole spine is kind of creating the shape of the roller, and that's both the low part of your spine and the upper part of your spine. Hold here. We'll take a deep breath in through the nose and an exhale breath out, and then we'll pick our bottom up and continue rolling. And perhaps you need to spend more time at the very upper part of your back and neck. Maybe you need to spend a little bit more time just below the shoulder blades. So you can figure out where your body needs the most attention and find that here. So this rolling may look a little different from person to person. Now, if you were laying lengthwise on the roller and you noticed, wow, there's kind of a big difference from side to side. I feel like my body is skewed towards one side. You may want to explore the side bending. So here, bring your right elbow towards your right hip and notice how that feels for your body as you're rolling. And then you can bring your left elbow towards your left hip and notice how that feels here. And so maybe one side is a little bit tighter than the other. You may need to spend more attention in that zone. You can also try rotating, which is to bring one elbow up towards the ceiling, one elbow down towards the floor, and notice how that feels. That's going to get really into the muscles along the sides of our spine, including our latissimus, our lat muscle. That's the shoulder muscle that helps to draw our shoulder blades down, but it attaches all the way down to our low back. And so you can check out how that feels on both sides. Perhaps you feel you need more energy right in the center, and that's okay. You can also go back, pause, and allow your spine to drape over the roller. We'll try 3 more rolls just like this. And just letting your breath be comfortable and natural. Last 2. Good. And one more time here. And then place your bottom down. Gently come on up to sitting. Sit up nice and tall. Hopefully it feels a little easier to sit up nice and tall. Try even taking a big deep breath in here so you can feel that because your rib cage attaches to your upper back, hopefully it feels like you can move your rib cage a little bit more to breathe. So we're going to take that into a quick strengthening before our mobility work for our legs. So we'll set up with the roller once again, just beneath the shoulder blades. And knees bent, feet flat. We're going to hold our head in the hands. Now, more than ever, it's important to press the back of the ribs into the roller. So it's almost like if I came around and tried to take your roller away from you, I couldn't because your spine is holding it down. Keeping that pressure, start to march the legs up off the mat one at a time. Keep your eyes on your knees, drawing the knees up and in towards your belly. Good. And if this is feeling pretty easy here, you feel that you can keep good pressure on the roller behind you, go ahead and try lifting both legs. From here, lower one leg down and back up. This should look familiar here. This is what we did lying lengthwise on the roller. So go slow. Think of keeping that downward pressure into the roller behind you. Keep your eyes on your knees, head is heavy in your hands. 4 more. 3. Good, guys. 2. And once more there, place both feet down and we'll take one last long extension stretch for our abdominals now, draping over the shape of the roller behind us. Gently come on up to a seated position and we'll get into the mobility work for our legs. So we're going to do our whole leg today, front and back. I think a lot of us have been holding tension in our bodies and it can feel like a really nice release for even our spine by just getting the mobility of our legs to move a bit more. So we'll take a seat on top of the roller to start with our glutes. And we're going to do one side at a time. I'll turn to face you guys. So I'll be down on my left hip. My left hand is going to be down on the mat behind me, and I'll gently turn towards the left. We're going to just start to roll here, and you want to be rolling on muscle. Okay, so we have a lot of bones in the area. When we're doing this mobility work, we're focusing on the muscle. And so you have glute muscle right in the center part of the back of your hip as well as on the sides of your hip. So just gentle as you're rolling along those muscles. It should feel intense, but it should not be sharply painful. And if it is, you can always back off a little bit, just go slower, or perhaps change position slightly, just rolling in and out of the zone that is a little bit more sensitive. If this feels really gentle and you want a little more body weight, cross your right ankle on top of your left hip. So we have tissue in our body that's called fascia. And you can kind of think of fascia as like the saran wrap that holds all of the tissue in our body together. So it encapsulates our joints, our ligaments, tendons, muscle, and it's just there holding it together. The interesting thing is that all our fascia is connected. And so even the fascia in our low back is influenced by the fascia tightness in our legs. And so I hope that as we mobilize our legs here, that helps for our spine to move a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and switch on over to our right side. So I'll place my right hand down, this time turning and rotating my body to the right and just rolling along that muscle. And remember I mentioned the glutes. We have a little bit of muscle right in the center. We have some that's off to the side. Different people are going to be tight in different spots. So you can kind of use this initial part to assess where is your body's tightness, and then continue to spend more time on the zones that feel like they need it for your body. And that might even be different from side to side, and that's okay. If you'd like to put a little bit more body weight on this side, go ahead and cross your left ankle on top of your right leg. Notice if your shoulder is starting to hike up by your ear. Let's keep good upper body posture as we do all of this rolling work here. And remember, it should be intense but not sharply painful. And if it is, just adjust your position a little bit. Try and stay on that more meaty part of the muscle. Good. Just another moment or two here. And last time. Now we're going to take that roller out from underneath our hips and place it underneath our thigh. So this will be our hamstring. The hamstring goes from just above the knee to just below the sits bones, kind of the bony part of our pelvis. So what we'll do here is reach our hands back behind us. Now, if you have wrist sensitivity, I would recommend taking a bit of a wider stance, turning your fingertips out, and keep a nice broad hand. I want you to really use your hand as though you might put a handprint in the mat behind you. And then we're going to start to roll. And again, you want to roll out first along the full length of your hamstring here. Use this as a moment of assessment. Now you can roll slightly to the outside of your leg or slightly to the inside of the leg. And we're going to feel different things. We actually have three kind of fibers or three small muscles that make up the hamstring. And so you'll feel in different angles of rolling that you're tight in different spots. If your wrists are really tired and sensitive, you can lower to your forearms and do the same thing. I find that a lot more challenging for the core as well as for the shoulders. So if you can tolerate being up higher, that is probably your best bet here. And feel free to take breaks. This isn't something you have to do continuously. Now, as you're rolling, if you're saying, wow, I notice one side is much tighter than the other, you can add a little bit of extra focus on that side by crossing the thighs on top of one another. So for me to put a little more weight on my left side, I cross my right thigh on top. And I'll kind of notice and feel, well, maybe it's the inside part of my left thigh that needs a little more attention. But if I do the right side, it's a little bit more on the outside part. So that's fine. You can notice those differences and just gently work along the course of the muscle. If you're feeling tension or strain down into your calves or your feet when you do this, bend your knees. You can still get the same benefit of this foam rolling with bent knees in this posture. Good. And just let your breath be comfortable and natural here. Excellent, guys. Okay. We'll try just another moment here on the hamstrings. And again, making sure you roll right to the knees, but not over the knee joint itself. Our joints don't have muscle. They have tendons that attach to them, but there is not muscle belly there. So we want to focus on the muscle belly, the meat of the muscle itself. Now we're going to switch to our calves. So like I said, we're going to skip our joint. We'll skip the knees and place the roller underneath our calf muscles, which go from just below the knee to just above our ankle. Now, if your wrists are tired and you don't want to put as much weight through them, you can keep your hands down and just roll the roller by bending your knees in and out. Okay, so that's going to be the lightest amount of pressure on the calves, but that might be the right option for you today. If you want more weight, pick your hips up and try that same rolling. And as you pick your hips up, this quickly becomes a lot of work for your shoulders. It also becomes a lot of work for your core, which is not a bad thing here. So you can think of threading your bottom between your hips and then pressing your hips forward, maybe even lifting them up to the ceiling, almost like a reverse plank. Just like with your hamstrings, you can roll a little bit to the outside, a little bit to the inside. Our calf muscle truly are two muscles stacked right on top of one another. They don't span from the inside to the outside, but they are wide muscles. So you can kind of test and feel how the differences in the breadth, width of the muscle feels as you roll. And also, just like our hamstring, if you'd like to cross one ankle on top of the other to put more body weight into the calf, you can do so here. For me, much too intense to do that, so I'm going to keep both calves down on the roller at the same time. Now, I'm finding today that I need a little bit more attention down low by my ankle, but you may find that you need a little more attention up a bit higher by the back of your calf up by your knee. So work within what's comfortable for your body. Try and keep your collarbones open and shoulders down away from the ears, keeping that strong upper body posture. You can always take a rest, kind of roll out your wrists. I know I hear lots of complaints about wrist soreness with this one, and that's not abnormal. Know that you are building strength in your wrists and forearms by just practicing this, which is a really good thing. We'll try another moment here. Excellent. And then you can drop your hips down. So we're going to take our legs off the roller and just spin it around so that it's in front of our body, so we can get onto our quads and our hip flexors. So we'll be doing the front of our thighs next. We just kind of got the whole backside of the legs. I know for me, even just sitting here right now, I feel looseness in my back, and that may be indicative of the loosening tissue in the backside of our body. So as we get into our quads, we're going to go from our hip down to our knee. So we'll start with the roller underneath our thighs, and I would recommend lowering onto your forearms here. Now, you can keep your toes on the ground, kind of mirroring as though you're in a plank posture. If you feel comfortable, you can also lift your feet off the ground. So for those of you with the toes on the ground, we're going to roll by kind of walking our body front to back. So it's like you're army crawling forward or pushing yourself backward. If your feet are lifted, you can kind of push and pull from your shoulders to roll along the length of our thigh. Remember that this is actually a pretty long muscle, so you may need to really kind of adjust how your body is moving so that you can get all the way up high by our hips and all the way down low by our knees. Now our quad is made up of 4 muscles, so 4 small muscles that go across the width of the thigh. So you can roll inward with your legs, outward with your legs to feel the differences in how the tissue moves in those different parts of the muscle. Just like we did with the hamstring and the calves, you can cross one ankle on top of one another to feel that side-to-side difference and put a little bit more body weight in one side. See if you can focus here on your core. Notice if your ribs are sagging to the floor. Try lifting them up so that it's as though you are truly maintaining that core plank alignment, and that's going to protect our spine as we continue to work through this tissue. Let your breath be comfortable and natural here. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. If you did that single leg stack, you can go ahead and switch over to the other side. You can also rest your feet down and give yourself a moment's pause here. Continue to push your elbows down into the mat, keeping that strong shoulder alignment. And we'll just spend another moment or two here working through the quad muscle. Excellent. And from there, we'll push ourselves off and take a moment's rest. Okay, so the last thing on the front of our leg will be our shin. And so I've had questions about this one before. Well, it feels like I have a lot of bone. If you feel your shin on the inside, you're gonna feel that there is mostly just bone. But if you come a little bit to the outside part of your shin, you'll feel that there is a thin muscle that lies right on top of the bone. And that's the one that we're trying to target. So you may need to roll your leg out just a little bit to feel that tissue there. So we'll set up with the roller underneath our shins, hands on the mat. Now, you can roll one leg at a time if that feels comfortable by just pressing the leg back behind you with the roller lying under your shins. But if you would like quite the core challenge here, you can try doing both legs at once. So what that looks like is pushing the hands down into the mat, keeping the neck long. You're gonna lift your knees up, press the legs out, pull them back in. Press the legs out and pull back in. Now notice if your back is starting to sag there, you can always come back to that single leg version, focusing on keeping your neutral spine alignment. But if you're up in that lifted posture, think of pressing and pulling along the length of the shin. Good. 4 more. 3. Last 2. Last time, drop down. You can keep your feet on the roller and shift back, finding a gentle child's pose, allowing your head to rest down, shoulders relax away from the ears, and forehead resting down onto the mat. And let that breath go, and you can gently come on up to a seated position. All right, so nice work, everyone. That concludes the movement-based part of our class. If you look at the first, let's say about 10 minutes of class where we were laying on the roller and we were rolling our upper back, that type of movement, you could do that every day. You could do that a couple times a day. Those I call like my posture fighters. So if you've been kind of sitting slumpy, those are a great way to combat that seated slumpy posture. The rolling we just did for the legs, back side of our legs, front side of our legs, I recommend about 2 to 3 days per week. So you need a little bit of recovery time for that. It's not abnormal to actually feel a little bit of muscle soreness as though you did a tough workout the following day. Drink lots of water. That's a normal response to foam rolling. And you can come back and resume that rolling in another day or 2, depending how your body feels. So I want to spend our last minute here of class answering any questions that you guys have about today's program. I also ask that if you have a moment to stick around to leave some feedback for today's class, I would really appreciate it. Any feedback you have to give. So let me get a little